Welcome to Operation Parents webinar, 5 Strategies to Raise a Drug-Free Kid. My name is Michelle Massey, and I'm on the program development team here at Operation Parents. We are so excited that you're going to join us for this 45-minute webinar. I'd like for you to test the question feature on your side panel there. If you could submit your first name and the state you're joining us from today, that would be awesome. Hi, Brandy from Delaware. Aaron, Kristen from Louisville. Sadie from Maryland. Whitney from Louisville. Cynthia from Ohio. Vonda from Garrett County. Nancy from Louisville. John from Louisville. Maria from California. Christy from Ohio. Terry from Wilmington, North Carolina. Welcome, you guys. Thanks. It looks like our question feature is working great. Mandy from Louisville says, hi, Michelle. Hi, Mandy. Okay, great. Keep coming. If you've just now joined us, I'd love for you to use the question feature and just give me your first name as well as the state that you're joining us from today. We've got people already in here from all over the United States. It's so exciting to learn together this afternoon. Hi, Barb from Washington. Justin from Kentucky. We've got someone from Nebraska. Jennifer from Texas. Sandy from Massachusetts. Kevin from Florida. Liz from Kentucky. Lauren from California. Got a Wisconsin person joining in. Dakota from Wisconsin. Ready? Okay, great. Welcome to Operation Parents webinar, the 5 Strategies to Raise a Drug-Free Kid. My name is Michelle Massey, and I'm on the program development team here at Operation Parent. I also have 2 awesome middle school ladies, so with many of you, I'm right in the thick of starting to raise preteens. We are really excited that you've joined us today for our 45-minute webinar. And I want to first tell you a little bit about Operation Parent. Operation Parent is a parent-driven organization providing comprehensive prevention, education, and support resources for parents, caregivers, and organizations responsible for raising and guiding teens and preteens. I also want to take a minute and thank each of you that are on with us today, because I know that you are in this important business as well. Sorry, I went flipped the screen a few too many times, so I'm going to flip back. Got a little excited there about our presentation. All right, there we go. Now I'd like to walk you through a couple of features on our GoToWebinar panel so that you can participate today. First, on the webinar control panel, you're going to see an orange tab with an arrow. This tab allows you to open and minimize the control panel. If you wish to view your screen without the control panel, you can click on that orange tab to minimize it once we get going. But for now, please click on the orange tab to open your control panel so you can view all the features. About halfway down the control panel, you will see the question section. You will send both questions and comments here. There are 3 panels. The top panel will show you any questions you've already posted. Below that is another light blue panel where you can type your questions and then select send privately, and they're going to come directly to me. I do want you to also know that you will be muted during the presentation today, but we very much want to hear and feel you in that question section. You can send us questions anytime during this webinar, and we really encourage you to do so. All questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. If we don't get to all of them on air. We will work hard to follow up with any remaining questions after the webinar. We might go a bit over the 60-minute mark, and so if you need to leave the webinar based on your schedule today, that's okay. We understand. You are going to get some excellent handouts today. We have 5 handouts pulled together to supplement the material that Mary Beth has organized for you. We've got helpful sites handout, a parent and teen drug alcohol contract, which is outstanding. We've got a handout with some instructions on how to write a contract with your child. And then we also have a handout entitled Marijuana Talk Kit. In addition, you're going to get a copy of the 5 strategies to raise a drug-free presentation today that will show you all the slides that we are going over. About an hour prior to this webinar, you should have received an email containing the handouts. So check for that. But in case you did not receive that email or you're not able to check right now if you're on your phone, you can double click on the handouts as we begin the download process. While we're live, the handouts will be available to you during the session, but once the webinar has ended and the session is closed, you will not be able to download the handouts from the GoToWebinar area. We are recording this presentation, and this recording will be sent to you tomorrow afternoon. There will be a short survey sent directly to you after the webinar. It will take about 2 minutes to complete, and if you have time, we would greatly appreciate your feedback. It's my great pleasure at this time to introduce one of our very own, Mary Beth Uberti, who has put together today's presentation for you.
Okay, well, hi, everybody, and thank you again for joining us today. My name is Mary Beth Uberti, and I am the Director of Program Development at Operation Parent. First and foremost, I'm a parent. I have 2 young adults, one in college and one in high school. And like the rest of the staff here at Operation Parent, we are not counselors or psychologists, but we are parents in various stages of parenting. For the past 7 years, I have been to schools, conferences, and businesses to talk with over 18,000 parents, students, educators, and other professionals about topics such as social media, drugs and alcohol uses and prevention, and other topics covered within our parent handbook. Our information is practical and direct, and always with the heart of a parent in mind. So what are we going to talk about today? First, we're going to just start with the adolescent brain. Just understand some very basic things about the development of the adolescent brain and understanding why keeping your children from drugs and alcohol is so vital during these years. We're going to look at the 5 strategies, warning signs of use, some basic follow-ups, and then questions at the end. And again, just please remember, anytime during this event, you may send a question. We'll answer all questions at the end. So let's just go ahead and get started. For those of you that are really good at the science side of this, we're going to look at this on a very lower scale, on a parent scale, on what the adolescent brain development looks like. The adolescent brain begins a major growth and development process when our children are about 12 years old, when they're beginning the puberty time frame in their life. Research has shown that the brain develops from the back to the front, from the bottom to the top. So looking at this diagram of the brain, we can see that areas of the brain that develop sooner and they are more active simply because of their location. What is most important from this is that the frontal lobe, where we reason, assess risk, control emotions, and can work through a problem, is at the front of the brain. And this is the last portion of the brain to fully develop. So when parents say, and I've said too, what was he or she thinking? Well, there's a good chance that the part of the brain that drives risk and emotion was working in full force because that part of the brain is developing sooner. But the part of the brain that reasons out the action, controls the input, controls the emotions, that hasn't fully developed. So we have our teens and our adolescents who are not thinking fully and seeing something maybe as a way to impress the friends or just want to try something that to us as adults we look at and say, that is just crazy. But to an adolescent, the risk and reward is firing off, and they think it's a good idea at the time. So here's something to keep in mind. We need our adolescents to do the risk taking. We do need them. We need them to have those emotions, those reward responses, because we need them to separate us from us and become mature adults. The thing to keep in mind, though, is when risk gets out of hand, when it becomes dangerous. That is the concern. So we do know that when alcohol and drugs are introduced into a developing brain, we know that they are at a higher risk of addiction. Something also to keep in mind is that the rational part of the brain, the part of the brain at the frontal lobe, does not fully develop and won't be fully developed until about age 25 or so. So they have a long way to go before that frontal lobe fully matures. So our youth are going to be doing things and reacting differently and not quite making sense to the adults in their world. So if you just kind of sit back and think, oh, what was I like when I was a teenager? You probably can pick out times where risk and reward and emotions drove you. And as you get older, you can stop and assess the situation and decide whether you want to take that risk. What are the consequences? Reasoning it out, controlling the emotions. But that is a mature adult brain in function. So here's what we do know about the adolescent brain and why it is so important to keep them away from drugs and alcohol during this time period. We do know that teens who start drinking by the age of 13 have a 43% chance of becoming an alcoholic. Those who start drinking at 21 have only a 10% chance. Again, brain development here. 90% of smokers start at or before age 18. 74%, hold on for just a minute. 74% of adults participating in substance abuse treatment programs start using alcohol or drugs before the age of 17. Those who begin using at 11 years or younger are more likely to have multiple addictions as compared to those who did not use drugs or alcohol until they were 25 or older. Again, this is all due to brain development. So the importance of us as parents, as people who are influencing youth in the community to keep them away from this is so vital. So let's start talking about the 5 strategies. And as we go through these, you might be looking at them and thinking, okay, I do this, and that's what we want. And maybe you'll look through and think, okay, let me try this. Let me add this to the toolbox inside my home or in my community. So number 1 is build a positive, supportive relationship with your children. Research has shown that parenting is the best prevention against drugs and alcohol usage. Building a positive, supportive relationship allows our teens to connect with us and opens the door to conversations. Some ways to build this relationship are showing interest in their activities, schools and friends. Attending school events, sporting events, and club events may provide you an insight into their life away from your family. You may not think that they are paying attention or even noticing that you are there, but I can promise you they do notice. They do know that you're there. Find time to do activities together, even if it's just 15 minutes. Movie time, throwing a ball, reading a book, playing a game together, going on a hike, or whatever it is that gives you and your child time to connect one-on-one is so vital. Ask them what they would like to do. You know, they may want to play a game on the in their Xbox or PS system. Do it. You don't have to be great at it, and they will have fun trying to teach you how to play because they're going to know how to do it way better than you. But that is a chance to connect, which is going to continue to open that door for conversation. Eat dinner together, eat a meal together as often as possible without a TV or cell phone distractions. And that means you don't answer the phone. You don't answer your cell phone. You just shut everything off, and your time together is vital. This provides you with a chance to ask them about their day, talk about your day with them. Family dinners together have shown to increase family connection. When you spend time together, you may notice signs of stress, or they may tell you about challenges they are facing with friends, schools, or just events in their lives. This provides you with an opening to discuss coping skills and how to handle stress or deal with a challenge. Setting goals with them helps build a framework for breaking down steps and completing a task. Don't be afraid to tell them about your failures and stories when you were growing up. Age appropriate, of course, But this is a chance for them to hear that, you know what, you face these kinds of situations, but it gives them a chance to talk to you. Keep in mind, too, that sometimes they just want to talk. They're not looking for a solution at that moment. They're just looking to unload. So you may have to sit back and assess, is this really a chance for me to talk about how to fix this? So always think about it this way. If they're talking to you and they're not asking for advice or you're not sure, you can always just say to them, hey, do you just you need me to listen, or do you want some advice? And that leaves them the opportunity to turn to you and say, you know what, I just need you to listen. And that's okay, because now they're talking. So that's really important. Provide your child with an opportunity to have age-appropriate chores at home. Tasks such as setting the table, clearing away the dishes, taking out the trash, or ways to learn that each person contributes to the family. This also teaches accountability and dependability, which is so important for holding down a job in the future. Remember to praise effort. And you need to notice that and praise it. It may not come out the way you would do it. If you're asking your child to set the table, they may just choose to put the spoon on top of the plate. But as long as everything is there, praise the effort. You can always show them later, hey, this is how you set the table, but they're doing it. So praise that, take notice. Our children usually are trying their best, but they will fail. So this is a chance to show them resilience. Praise that and remember that resilience is important for them to learn how to pick themselves up and try again. So build a positive, supportive relationship with your kids. This is a process. This is not a one and done by any stretch of the imagination for any one of these. So just stay positive yourself. So number 2, hold on, I got to get my slide to advance. There we go. Communicate clearly. Talk early, talk often. As a parent, this has been difficult for me to discuss things as sex, drug and alcohol usage. But something to keep in mind is the American Academy of Pediatrics says that you should begin discussing alcohol as early as age 9. So if you've got a 3rd grader out there, you need to start talking. Just pay attention. When they ask a question, answer it. But just start paying attention to the chances to talk. What you want to do is try to avoid lectures and long discussions. Short talks are the best. Have the discussion somewhere where your child can look elsewhere, like riding in the back of the car or at bedtime with the lights turned off. Ask them what they know about alcohol or other drugs. Ask them simple questions. Do you know anything about marijuana, or have you heard about this? Um, Talk about the effects and consequences of usage. If they are asking a question and you don't know the answer, you just tell them, I don't know. Good question, don't know. And then on our helpful handout sites page that is in the handouts, go there. There are great sites listed on that handout that allow you, or sometimes even you and your child, to go on and you can read about alcohol. You can read about certain drugs. And a lot of these sites I give you also have pages for adolescents and teens for them to go read. So keep in mind, if you don't know what to say or how to start the conversation, I encourage you to check out an app by SAMHSA, and SAMHSA is Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, and the app is called The Talk. This app provides conversation prompts and responses to various questions and situations to help you discuss alcohol and drugs with your child. This is available for download at the App Store. So talk about media messages. Here's something to keep in mind with our current, they have access to computers, TV, all kinds of places they see messages about alcohol and drug uses. So talk about that when you see it. They are seeing a lot of messages that say the only way to have fun is to drink, or lots of TV shows that'll show kids, teenagers drinking and smoking as if it's a normal part of their everyday life. Discuss the negative consequences of use and abuse, drug or drunk driving, poor decision making, sexual activity, health risks. These are the things you want to talk about when you see it. There's so many examples just out in the news about this kind of stuff. So sometimes you just got to like say, hey, did you hear about this? And see if for a little nugget if they're willing to discuss that with you. Discuss your values and beliefs and hopes and goals for you and your family. Explain to them the benefits of choosing not to use alcohol and drugs. Ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Trust me, they may have no clue. Or they're going to pick something you'll think, okay. But what you want to do is get them to start thinking about the future. Because if you can get them to tie that, they can tie together not using alcohol and drugs and their future and keep those two things tied, that it'll allow them to keep moving positively toward their dreams, their hopes and dreams, you have a better chance of keeping them away from drugs and alcohol. Know what your family history and personal usage of drugs and alcohol are. And this is a hard one. For a lot of families, this is a tough one to discuss, especially if there has been addiction in the family or there currently is addiction or abuse of alcohol and drugs. But you need to know what your family history is. And at age appropriate times, middle school, high school, you need to be talking to your children about this. They need to understand that there are some genetic components that they are finding out more and more about with research, and they could be genetically predisposed. So you really need to start talking to your kids about family history. So we do know that teens whose parents talk with them regularly about the dangers of drugs are 42% less likely to use drugs than those whose parents do not. So just talking, 80% of teens report when parents set clear boundaries about alcohol, they are less likely to drink. But only 1 in 4 teens report ever having conversations with their parents. So it's really important to have the conversation. And it's not a one and done. It's a gradual process of continuing to educate them and encouraging them to stay alcohol and drug free. Number 3, get to know your child's friends and the parents. This one is so much easier when your children are in elementary school and most of their friends live in your neighborhood or at least nearby. You get to meet the friends, you get to meet the parents. But when they cross into middle school and high school, it's an important time to pay attention to who they are hanging out with or who they would like to hang out with. Friends play an important role in your child's life. Their influence, opinion, and choices will impact your child's life. Meet their friends at school events. Invite them to hang out at your house. Carpool with the parents. When plans are made for your teen to hang out or to go to a friend's house, check in with the other parent. Call them to confirm plans, drop off and pick up times. And when you drop them off at the friend's house, yeah, unfortunately, go up to the door. You're going to completely embarrass your child at that moment, but you need to go up to the door, introduce yourself, make sure the plans are clear. Ask them, are you staying here for the entire time? Make sure there is an adult present. You're not out to embarrass them, but you're giving them a reason to say no. You're letting them know, I am paying attention to what's going on in your life. Please understand and don't assume that all parents will be on board with no alcohol or drugs for minors, because there are parents out there who will provide or allow the usage of alcohol and drugs while in their home. So please, you need to really just ask the question, are you going to allow alcohol usage or drug usage in your home? And honestly, I do know of a situation where a parent made it very clear for New Year's Eve, sent out an email to invite the kids and sent an email to the parents saying, I will allow them to drink while they're in my home, but I will observe. Okay, here's the thing. You need to make the call right then and there. You can let your kid go to that. But in this situation, you need to make sure your child understands that in no circumstances will you allow them to drink. And even though that parent is choosing to do that for their child, that's their choice. But when they involve other kids and allow other kids, it can go wrong really, really quick. And you need to also discuss with them social host laws. You don't have to call it social host laws, but understand that there is a law within your state, most likely, that are social host laws. And that prohibits adults from knowingly or unknowingly hosting an underage drinking party on their property that they own or otherwise control. So what does that mean? That means that if, say, you have a party on your property, and maybe you're there with your other adult friends and the kids are out there, but somebody starts bringing alcohol or drugs onto your property, you are liable. So if a kid gets hurt or goes and drives a car and has an accident, it's going to come back to you, whether you allow it or you don't. And in some states, this has really ensnared some parents. There was a story out of California where these parents, they did have a party, but it was no alcohol, no drugs. Parents even made the attempt. They were walking amongst the kids the entire time and could see no evidence of it. Somebody called because the party was getting too loud. Police come. Lo and behold, they find alcohol. It was brought in by another kid. The parent was arrested and cited. So even though they did everything, it still came into their home. So you as a parent need to talk to your kid. You need to explain to them that you are responsible for whatever happens on their property, and that includes a car, that alcohol and drugs, if it makes its way into your house, onto your property, that you are legally responsible. So do they need to understand, and they may need to make it very clear to their friends, don't even bring it, because they are putting you at risk and your family at risk. So keep that in mind. It's called social host laws. You can Google that to see if your state has that type of law. Okay, number 4 is get in the way. So you've taken the time to get to know their friends, set the boundaries, and have a conversation. Now they want to go out with friends. Go to a game, a movie, a party. I can just encourage you, start with simple things like go with a what if situation. What if you were offered an alcoholic beverage? How are you going to say no? Are you going to say no? What if your friend who drove you to the party has been drinking? Are you going to get in the car with them? How are you going to get home? What if you want to leave the party, my son or daughter, and you need to get out of that party because maybe it's gotten out of hand and you need a way to get out without embarrassing yourself? How are you going to do it? So these are situations that you can just kind of talk, say, hey, what if? What if you get to the party and they're smoking marijuana or they're, pulling out pills? What are you going to do? What if the friend who comes and gets you, you can smell the alcohol on their breath? Are you going to get in the car? Because reality says and statistics say the kids will get in the car, even though you've had this conversation. So please continue to have this conversation. Talk about the risks that you're taking when you put yourself in a situation of driving with an impaired driver. They need to understand that. So talk about also what will you do, what will they do if they are drinking alcohol or using a drug and they want to come home? What if they drink alcohol and use an illicit drug and they need to get home? Will you pick them up? How are you going to react? So you want to go over these situations, ask them what they will do. And quite honestly, they may not have an answer. So you could say something like, well, one idea is, and throw out an idea. You got any other thoughts? And see and get them. Trust me, as you continue to do these what if situations, they'll come up with more things that they could do. They might tell you straight out, yeah, I'm not doing that. Okay, that's not going to be a possibility, but what else could they do? Will you let them call you at any time they are out, and will you pick them up? How will you have a code word? This is interesting. I've heard this quite a few times, is if they're in a bad situation and they just want to get out of the situation, but they don't want to embarrass themselves by saying, hey guys, I'm leaving. Sorry, not into this. I don't know how to get out of here. Have them text you maybe just a letter. They get on their phone, quickly text a big capital X. You get that text. This tells you they want out. So then you just pick up the phone, you call them or you text them and you give them this long story of, hey, sorry, I hate to bother you, but you know what? You got to come home now, or I need to pick you up now. Something's happened, an emergency at home. Sorry to end your night, but I'm coming to get you, or you need to leave now. Because then they can show that to their friends and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I got to go. So that's a code word that allows you to get them out of that situation. Also, before they leave, you want to set the curfew. There are curfew laws in most counties in the United States for adolescents. Some are for under 16, some are for under 18. Look it up for your county, but there are curfews. You need to discuss with your teen, okay, what's the agreed upon time? Uh, Set the consequences also. Ask them and discuss what is it going to be if you don't show up by the time the curfew hits. What will happen? Discuss this together way before they ever go out, okay? And make sure that they understand that they need to be in your house by curfew. They need to arrive home. And if they are driving others, they need to let them know that they have a curfew. So they're going to drop them off a little bit early. And they may find out that they have a friend that they're driving that has a curfew, and they need to honor that curfew. So they're responsible for honoring their curfew. Be awake when they come home. And quite honestly, in my house, the curfew gets set by how long I can stay awake or my husband can stay awake. Because as they've gotten older, the magic of health and wealth and everything and being alive, we get older too. And it's harder for us to stay awake. So a lot of times our curfew is attached a little bit to how long we can stay awake. But you want to be awake when they come home. You want to give them a hug when they come in, talk with them, ask them how their evening went, smell their breath, smell their clothing, give them a big hug, pop them one, let them exhale, smell the breath. If you've ever heard Bill Oliver, he did a program called Parent to Parent. These are a lot of his suggestions. But when you stay awake and you're awake when they walk in the door, you're giving them another reason to say no. I can't drink or smoke. My mom is awake when I get home. It's okay to be the crazy parent here. Give them permission to use you as an out for drinking or smoking or partying. Give them that permission. Let them know it's okay. You can tell them I'm nuts. It's all right. You can tell them I'm the bad guy. It's okay. You've got broad shoulders. You can do it. Um, but it's also important to always thank them when they come home on time. Thank you for following the rules. Let them know that you see that they are choosing to follow the rules. So I've done all this, and lo and behold, here comes my kid, and they're drunk or high. And I am annoyed. They're past curfew. I'm frightened, scared to death, but here they are. And the one thing I can suggest, and I've heard this from many, many people that work with adolescents, is avoid the fight right then. Because if you get into an argument with your child at that moment, number one, you're angry, you're going to say things that you're going to probably regret, but they are inebriated or high, and this can go majorly wrong really fast. So one thing is take a deep breath, be glad you have them home, assess whether they can go to bed. If they are falling down drunk or vomiting, uh, I would stay awake with them. If they're vomiting, make sure they do not roll on their back because they can aspirate. But if they're passing out drunk, or they're saying they took a drug, but they really don't know what it is, and their body, the way they're acting is completely off, I'd be tempted. I would, as a parent, I'd take them to the ER if that's what my alarm bells are telling me. Go to the ER. If you're going to put them to bed or as you're doing it, stick with them. And you just tell them, hey, listen, we're dealing with this tomorrow at this time, and we're going to sit down and discuss this, and you're going to deal with consequences. So please just try to avoid the fight on the night of. So modeling the behavior. Your kids are watching your behavior sometimes more than they listen to you. They are watching. So take the time to reflect on your usage of alcohol, prescription, and illicit drugs. Are you sharing prescriptions that you have left over? Are you saying don't drink and drive, but then go out to a restaurant with your kids and you have alcoholic beverages and then get behind the wheel of a car? Do you dispose of unused medications, prescriptions, and over-the-counter drugs once they expire? Really take a look at all that. Lock up your medications. If you have medicine in the house for different types of medical issues, lock them up. It may not be your kid who takes the drugs out of your house. It may be a friend. So they go rooting through cabinets. They're looking for whatever they can find with the possibility of selling it. If you have any type of painkillers in your home, ADHD drugs, these are high sellers. They can sell a pill. So please get yourself a medical lockbox, lock them up. Move your alcohol out of arm's reach or lock it up. Pay attention. If you have a refrigerator out in the garage, I can guarantee you every one of the teenagers know you do. And if your door is open, we've had in my neighborhood where kids were going in and taking the liquor out of the refrigerator, the beer out. And there was so much in there, a lot of the parents didn't realize anything was gone until somebody actually walked into their garage, a child did, and saw teenagers taking stuff out of their um, garage refrigerator. Pay attention, lock it up, move it, make it inaccessible. Let's see. Discuss, oh, the other thing with that is look for drug take back days. In the fall and spring, there is always a drug take back day, and that's by the DEA does that, and they advertise. But if you want to get rid of, you go through your medicine closet today, and you want to get rid of expired medications, prescriptions that are left over, you can Google the words drug disposal near me. Drug disposal near me. You will find pharmacies that'll take them back, police departments or fire departments that have boxes, and you can go there and just hand it off. Pay attention to how you handle stress. Are you coming home after work saying, gosh, I just need a drink to relax? Because if you're saying that and doing that and sitting down and you're associating relieving stress with alcohol or drugs, your kids are getting that message. This is how I cope. So pay attention. Look for positive coping skills to try for yourself and let your kids see you doing this. Mindfulness, yoga, walking, reading, just something to relax and let them know I'm trying this because I want to try to de-stress. So pay attention to that. If you are abusing or addicted to alcohol or a drug, the best thing you can do for you and your family is to get help. So let's just talk about the warning signs just in case, because for some of you, you might be sitting here thinking, well, I do a lot of this, but I'm already in the midst of them using. So what are the warning signs? Behavioral issues, anger, outbursts, depression, high anxiety, sleeping in a lot. Personal appearance will change. Maybe they're not showering as often. They're wearing different types of clothing. Just things don't look right. They're changing their social group. Let's face it, if your child or teenager is interested in using drugs and alcohol, they want to hang with the kids that are using drugs and alcohol. So they're going to change their friends group. The group that they might have hung with, they've been like, yeah, I don't want to hang with you because I want them. Home or car related issues, money missing, things being just gone in your home, the car accidents. These are all could be warning signs. Health issues, runny nose, eyes that are bloodshot, sometimes stomach aches. You just might see things that just look off. School or work issues, not showing up at school or work, blowing it off, leaving early, falling grades. A kid that is an A student, AB student, they can go for a while before somebody notices that something is going on. But a BC student, it'll show up a little bit quicker. Keep in mind that as a child continues to use alcohol or drugs and it moves from experimental to social to more of abuse, they're going to choose the drug or alcohol first, and things will start going. I need you to look at the overall picture of your child. Overall, is my child moving in a healthy direction? It takes about 2 years of use before somebody really realizes what is going on average. But look at the overall picture. Your child may be changing friends group or going out of a sport, but it may really be because the friends group has decided to use alcohol and drugs and they've chosen to leave that group to go with a different group. So pay attention overall, look at them overall just to see what is going on. And if you do suspect use of, maybe you've had many nights where they've come in drunk or high, I need you to look in their room, search it. Look in the car, their backpack. Check their least obvious places in their rooms, vents, hems of curtains, water bottles, socks. Check their backpack, their car. They're going to have their drug or their drug of choice wherever it is close to them. Talk to the parents of their friends. Unfortunately, many friends and parents know that the teen is using or abusing a drug or alcohol, that it's been going on for a while, but they don't know how to tell you. So they just haven't. So they have the answers, you just haven't asked, and therefore they haven't told you. Unfortunately, if you have younger siblings in the house, they tend to know it's been going on also. But that is their older sibling and they don't tell. So just keep that in mind. And if you are in a situation where you need help now, here's some great resources. SANSA National Helpline is at this number. This is a 24-hour, 7 days a week treatment referral in English and in Spanish. So I encourage you, if you are in the midst of this, they can help you find treatment. They can refer you to different places. Psychology Today, if you're looking for a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist, you can search by zip code. And then you can add filters to the search. So you can go in there and say adolescent, abuse, alcohol abuse, depression, and anxiety. Remember, it tends to be a coping skill or it's social. So if they're dealing with depression, anxiety, or some other traumatic event, they may be using this as a coping mechanism to get through this, through what they're going through. So you may need a counselor or psychologist. Get them assessed. If you really think something's going on, you have evidence of them, get them assessed. You can go to any one of these places. Drugfree.org also has a support system built in, and find out who the local places are to get your adolescent assessed. Keep in mind, if you decide to go for treatment, because there is definitely something going on, the assessment's coming back, they're saying get treatment, you want to go someplace where they treat adolescents, not adults. They need to treat adolescents. It's a different treatment process. So as we finish up here, follow up, be the reason they say no. You are the reason, you're the parent. So be the reason they say no. Give them permission to use you as an out. Thank them for following the rules. Talk to them about what do they want to be when they grow up. Show them there is a future. And that future really is hinged on staying alcohol and drug free. So connect those two things. And know that they make a choice every single day to choose to not use drugs or alcohol. It's every single day. Okay, hold on for just a moment. And if you have any questions, go ahead and post them. And Michelle, I'm going to bring you back on. Okay.
All right, great. As Mary Beth said, now is the perfect time to submit your questions in the question feature on GoToWebinar. We would love for you to stay connected with us on social media. Sign up for our e-newsletter, purchase our parent handbooks, invite us to host a community presentation, and please, please, please continue to attend our future webinars. This is free material that we put together so that we can continue learning together. Join us for our next webinar. We have Dr. Aaron Weiner. He's a licensed clinical psychologist and director of addiction services at Linden Oaks out of Illinois. He's also the science advisory board member at Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Many of you know the acronym there, SAM. We'd love for you to also think about purchasing our parent handbook. It is excellent information. The content in the handbooks covers over 40 issues that our teens are facing today and allows us as parents to study those issues and stay ahead of today's culture. Our elementary handbook comes in English, Spanish, and Christian editions for $5.99. And our middle and high handbook is also available in English, Spanish, and Christian for $9.99 each. You can take a look here at the table of contents and see some of the tough issues that we are putting content out on. As you've learned today, alcohol and drug awareness, social media safety, cyberbullying, anxiety, depression, suicide, ADHD, to name a few. You can also look at the content of both the elementary and the middle and high handbooks online. Mary Beth is out in the community very often. She has done presentations for over 12,000 parents, guardians, and counselors, as well as 6,000 students. So please follow up with us if you would be interested in a community presentation. All right, and now we are going to get to questions, and I've seen them start to come in. Let me get to the top here. Lots of questions. Excellent. Also, some positive feedback. Someone says that was awesome. Thanks, Mary Beth. Thank you for the good information, and handouts will be used. Okay, that's great affirmation for us. Thank you all so much. Let's see. I put out a parent email. Could I use your contract handout in the email?
Yes, please feel free. It is actually out on the internet also in general content. So yes, please use it.
Okay, perfect. We use the parent handbooks at parent-teacher conference in the 4th grade and high school.
Wonderful. That is wonderful. Great job.
Okay, I'm so excited about that. I can hardly get to the next question. That's awesome. Here we go. All right. How much is it to come do a community presentation?
Okay, it depends on your location. If I'm traveling locally, um, it really does depend on the location and how far away I'd have to travel. Your best bet is you can email me directly at Operation Parent, so Mary Beth, MaryBeth, at operationparent.org. You just send me your idea. The presentations are always 60 minutes in length. PowerPoint, provide handouts to the parents. So it's best to always email me. If I have to travel really far, and I mean past an hour and a half, then there will be hotel fees included in that. And that really depends on what the schedule is that is going on, not only here at work, but also my family schedule, because I still have a high schooler. So it just depends on that. So feel free to email me though.
All right, that concludes the
All
questions that
right.
we have in the queue.
Okay. Well, anybody who has any other questions, please feel free to email me at marybeth at operationparent.org. And we just want to thank you for attending the webinar.
To help keep Operation Parent webinars free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation. Visit us online at operationparent.org to donate today. Thanks everyone for your time and attention.